Let's
Welcome into the
go.
first ever Sports Divided College Pick'em show. I'm your host, Rick. We got Tyler and Adam today with us. Uh, just so everybody knows, Adam is a big fan of cheating um, and everything that goes with it. He does support the Michigan Wolverines. So,
Hey, congratulations, Connor Stallions. D coordinator, high school. That's huge.
yeah. So, what is that like? Does he take the manifesto with him to the
I
to
would
the high school
imagine
and say,
so.
"Hey, this is my plan"?
If you can get away with it in college, you might as well try it in high school, I think.
He'll be
For what?
DC
A
at
state title?
he'll be
Yeah.
DC at Michigan in a year.
What if Sparty just plucks him?
That'd be smart too.
There was rumors he was going to work at Barstool.
Yeah. Big Cat was talking about that the other day on Pardon My Take, where they were just going to lock him in a room and let him run these reports on the competition
Yeah.
and try to come out with a bunch of winnings.
Yeah. Well, if
And
you're
then
not
they
cheating,
thought
you're not trying.
they go, well, maybe he'd be a, great inside gambler guy. Just try to
Yeah.
lock him in a room and try to find the lines to sweep under the rug to win.
Well, I'm excited to
And then
be here.
we got Tyler LSU. Um, so we got two Tigers fans and I don't know what's a Wolverine exactly. A Badger.
Yeah, close enough. Something like that.
All right, week 0, college football has arrived. We'll start this one off with game 1 of the college football season. Florida State and Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland, 11 a.m. on ESPN. Florida State minus 10.5, over under 55.5. Adam, go ahead, Mr. Research.
Yeah. I don't know a ton about either team. I know Florida State obviously has a chip on their shoulder, has a lot to prove after getting left off the playoffs last year. So I
Why do
expect
you
them to
hate
come out.
DJ Ungaleu?
Yeah, that's a big get for them. I think it'll be good. But I think for me, it's going to be the run game. They got the Alabama running back, right? Transfer from Alabama. Did I get that right?
Yep.
So for me, I think it's going to be their run game. If my research is correct, I have Georgia Tech was ranked 120th out of 130 total teams in total defense last year. Um, I heard they brought in the Duke D coordinator, which will help. But for me, the Knowles are going to run all over 'em. I'm taking the Knowles and the points.
Really, really. So I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna lean in here to the Georgia Tech struggling defense, and also take. I think Florida State might push them around a little bit in the trenches. Um, Now, I really like what Brent Key's doing with the Georgia Tech squad. Recruiting at a pretty good level. They just got a 5-star last week, and they flipped someone, I believe, from Georgia the week before. So moving forward, I think they're going to be fine. I don't know if it's going to do much for them this week, but I do feel that the 10.5 over going across the pond might be a little too much. I'm going to take Georgia Tech and take the points, and
What do you?
and I'm taking the over in the first game of college football. I You hit on Georgia Tech's defense last year. Awful, awful, awful.
Awful.
Maybe the only team was worse was my LSU Tigers. Um, I think Florida State's going to be able to score. I think Georgia Tech will be able to score a little bit. So I'm going to lean the over. Now, I don't technically like taking the over in the very first game of the season on a completely different continent. That might be a little risky, but we're going to go with that. Give me the Yellow Jackets plus 10.5 and the over 55.5.
Do you guys think with the line? I saw some lines starting at 13 and a half. Are you guys? Is that field goal point movement scare you guys at all?
I mean, I think if it was 11.5, it'd scare me just as much as 13.
I think the money
13's
might
a
move
trick.
back up. I don't know.
13's a trick. No, I'm saying like 13's a trick, like less of a tricky number than 11.5, because 11.5 isn't just,
Right.
you know. like a weird field goal or a safety can get you inside that 11.
Well, real quick, I got one more stat. The Georgia Tech under Brett Keys is 12-3 against the spread as an underdog.
Hmm.
So there you go, Tyler. Might help you.
You went against your own stat, but
Yep, that's a good stat, but no,
yeah, I don't.
Somebody's in the
Florida
lab.
State's Florida State's got a lot to play for. They got a lot to prove. They've had a lot of time to think about last year and how the season ended, and they're going to come out ready to play.
Yeah, I don't. I don't necessarily like my Georgia Tech plus 10.5 bet. Maybe that's why I bet it because I hate it so much. Um, but I don't want to give foreshadowing too much into my other picks that we'll get to. But I couldn't have it that I take 3 double-digit favorites in every single game this weekend. So that might have been the primary reason I took Georgia Tech plus 10.5.
Well, yeah, you just gave some stuff away, but that's all right. Uh the first thing I thought of when I saw this game uh was if you go off last year's offensive totals, these teams together combined for 65.8 points per game. And seeing a line that says 55 and a half seemed questionably low compared to that. Like I get it, it's week 1. I get it. There's a lot of new transfers for Florida State. It's not Jordan Travis. It's not uh, Coleman on the outside and all that. But like they say, right? When a line smells a little fishy compared to the data, maybe the line's correct. So instant thought was over. I'm gonna take the under, and I'm taking Florida State in the points.
All right, all right.
I like it.
I'm thinking the reason why that line is like that is obviously because you're traveling to a different country and playing, the first week. But I will say they got to stop letting these teams play week 0 games, and then they're going to go and play a big game next week, right? LSU. It happened not so much this, but future. I go back to the last couple years. I remember when LSU was going out to play UCLA. UCLA goes over to Hawaii and whips the absolute shit out of them. They basically get a free preseason game, and then they just go into their week 1 game and just roll. So, not to look too far ahead into next week, I might come with some data on teams that play week 0 and what that looks like against the spread in week 1. Because, it is a big difference. I know you're risking injury here, but, you get basically a whole week head start in live game action with tackling. So it is a big advantage. So might be a trend we might want to jump on next week.
Well, and then not only that, I think it buys you an extra week in the middle of the season too,
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. That's big.
Like you can, instead of having only 2 off weeks, you technically got a third because you played a week earlier.
Yep.
Now
So
I kind of get it with going to Dublin because then coming back at the start of the year, at least you don't want to play week 1, have week 2 off, and then run a gauntlet and only have 1 off week for the next 4 or 13 weeks. But I don't know. I think a little bit uh, is to probably be said about just that aspect of gaining a whole extra week. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a thing where the CFP steps in and says, no Power 4 conference can play in those games. We
yeah,
can give it to the mid majors and G5.
yep,
You know what I mean? Just because then people get to watch football, or you just say, hey, MAC, Mountain West, Sun Belt, Conference USA, here's your Super Bowl. Here's where all the eyes can be on you. Have fun.
yeah. I know you'd look at. I'd really like to see just treat it like a preseason week. You just look at LSU's going out to play USC in Vegas week 1. It's a huge. That's a huge game in both those teams' season. Um, and you're coming just off the bus right into a huge week. It'd be more it would have meant more in the 14 playoff. But I mean, even still with both those teams' schedules, I mean, it's a huge game. But yeah, I
That's
would like
kind of
to.
what I was thinking is that now with the expanded playoffs, teams can take a little bit more risks on their schedules. They don't get penalized as much as playing good teams early.
Yeah,
You can get away with getting a loss early,
yeah,
Well,
rebounding the rest of the year
I think that's
versus
part of why they did it too, right? They got sick and tired of having. I mean, the Mizzou's non-conference is a joke. You know what I mean? Like they got sick and tired of all these teams playing, you know, Samford and Fordham and
yeah.
right.
whoever else, and then they play their couple conference games, and even conference half your conference games anymore are cakewalks for the most part, for most teams at least that are like in contention.
Unless you're
And,
Florida.
Well,
but
yeah,
then
we'll talk Florida here in a little bit for sure.
is what's the if you're not going to get penalized for it, why make this super hard schedule if it's just going to hurt you? You might as
Yeah,
well
Well, yeah,
take your
that's the thing,
conference
right?
wins, not risk the loss, and go into the playoffs undefeated or one loss.
Well,
yeah.
it backfired on Florida State last year.
Yeah.
They had injuries. That was all because of injury. If Travis is healthy, there's no shot they're holding them out in the playoff.
But they were already talking about it even before he got hurt. Like, oh, 13 and
Yeah,
0, and the ACC so bad, and their non-conference was so bad. Like,
they beat LSU.
yeah, but LSU was 9 wins, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That was their like. It's more about how bad, at the end of the day, Clemson was last year, and how bad Florida or Miami down in Florida was last year, and NC State, who was supposed to be a top 25 program all year, was outside the top 25 most of the year. So like every ACC win they had, they didn't play. I don't right. They didn't play Notre Dame last year. Every ACC win they had was
yeah. I think
a
their best
mediocre win.
ACC win might have been. I mean, I guess Clemson. I guess would have been the best one.
So their best win of the season was LSU in week 1
Yep.
in Florida, right?
Yep.
Because it was in Camping World in Orlando. So,
Yep.
but
Getting back
well,
to this game real quick, does somebody have a first half line? What do you guys think about the first half? Taking the
yes,
under?
this is the stuff, Adam.
This is kind of what I'm thinking is like
I didn't know.
slow to get
Well,
off the bus.
hey,
Everybody's going to be tired, sleepy.
we were
First half under.
we're talking that everything's going to be open, especially come next week. I just didn't know if we were going to get into the deep end in week 0, but hey, I'm here for it.
I mean,
Um,
I didn't have a total on this game in one way or the other. But if I had a lean towards it, I think I would be all over the first half under,
let me try to
depending
We'll
on
pull
what
lock,
it
that
up.
number is.
we'll lock it in for you. How about that?
Yeah, throw it on there.
Mac play? Is that what I heard?
Let me see what
Uh,
that number is first.
I'd imagine it's somewhere around 27, 27 and a half.
let's see. Let's get to the alternative lines and game props. First half spread is Florida State minus 6.5. First half points 24.5.
24 and a half.
Yeah.
Well, so hold on. 24.5 at they have listed. I popped it down. There's 3 options. 24.5 is minus 175 for the over,
Oh,
plus 135 for the under. The normal where you would say it balances out minus 115, minus 105 is 27.5.
27 and a half.
Yep.
That's what I
Give me
expect.
that under. Give me that under.
I mean, if I'm taking the under for the game, I might look at taking the under 20, the alternative line of minus 20 or under 24.5 at plus 135, just because.
Hey, I'm going over, so I'm not taking either one of those.
All right, Big Cat. Points, points, points. We love points.
I just don't think Georgia Tech's going to be able to stop them. I think Georgia Tech's going to score, so we'll see.
I think my thinking a little bit with it was I think Florida State's not going to be able to be stopped. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to move the ball for some reason,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be one of those unders where it's like 35-10 or
Yeah.
Yeah, in that
38.
case, maybe look at look at Florida State team total. If you don't like Georgia Tech to score, I don't know.
Florida State team total is 33.5, according to ESPN Bet. But all right, game 2 of the day is on FS1 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Montana State travels to New Mexico, 3 p.m. kickoff. Tyler, we'll start with you this time.
The only thing I have on this game is New Mexico must be god awful to be 11.5 point dogs to an FCS school. So I am taking Montana State minus 11.5. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. That's got to be one of the biggest spreads for an FCS school, favored over an FBS school, I'd imagine.
I do want to run something by you real quick. An FCS as a small underdog and or a favorite is 65% against the spread.
Yep, sign me up. Montana State minus 11.5. That is the only research I did on that game. Was just my own brain thinking, whenever I see an FCS school giving 11.5 points, I will take that over an FBS school.
What about how do we feel about New Mexico paying $360,000
To
to
lose.
have this team come to their stadium to potentially lose? That'd be tough.
Yeah,
The
University Stadium is going to be a fun place to be if you're a Lobos fan. I'm going to bet.
Yeah, that is embarrassing.
Just for the record, New Mexico was 8th worst in points per game last season on the defensive side of the ball at a whopping 35.1 points a game they gave up.
Yeah,
And they were one spot better or one spot worse than LSU. LSU was 408 yards a game, and
just catching
New
strays.
Mexico was 409.
Okay,
Well,
and
you
I
said
should.
how you made a comment saying that Georgia Tech was the worst defense maybe
Yeah,
than other than LSU, and
yeah.
you were just proven wrong. Is all I was trying to actually pump up your Tigers.
I will say, I know Montana, the Bobcats, they are a very good FCS school, so I shouldn't be just saying, oh, FCS over FBS. But that's still, it is a little bit of a gap in competition. But, Montana State is a good program, and I do think that they're going to cover this 11.5. So it's just an absurd number whenever you see that. I don't ever remember seeing an FBS school getting double digits to an FCS school at home.
Look here, I'm sick of all this Lobo hate right now. I have New Mexico sophomore quarterback Devin Damper as a freshman, 64 attempts last year with 0 picks. The guy takes care of the ball. Not only, this might be a little risky. I'm not going to take the money line, but I'm going to have New Mexico is going to be covering that 11.5. Go Lobos.
All right.
Tyler, did you I forget? Did you touch the point total?
No. I'm not touching that.
Okay.
I just don't know enough about it. So now, not saying I'm a couple drinks in deep on Saturday and the game's on and I don't touch it, but as of right now, no.
So for me, kind of the same thinking as Tyler a little bit. You're gonna pay to have somebody come to your own stadium and probably
$360,000.
thoroughly throttle you when it comes to the defensive side of the ball for you. So yeah, give me minus 11 for the Bobcats, and why not? We'll take the over of 54.5 just because I don't know. If they're that bad and they're giving up 35 and it's week 1 and they're
The guy
I mean
takes care.
Montana State last year was 8-4 in the with in the FCS out of the Big Sky.
Yeah,
And they did score 16 against South Dakota State, and they scored 34 in both in losing fashion to North Dakota State.
Yeah, I mean, so they play a really tough schedule, FCS wise. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think they're a good team, good FCS team. So
I just
excited
hope Devin Damper doesn't put a damper on your guys this Saturday. Again,
Devin
let's go
Damper.
Lobos.
Well, I know this is on FS1, but I don't know if I will actually be tuning into this game.
I will be. It's week 0.
And
That's gonna be that's a
yeah, but
screen three. That's a screen three
yeah,
matchup right there.
that's a iPad on the side of the couch on the arm of the couch as you got
You
one
look up and
game
all of a
and then
sudden it's the fourth quarter. You're like, oh man.
Turn on the fourth quarter. Montana State's winning by 30. Dampers.
out of the game after
Damper
six.
has 4 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 2 pick sixes and he got pulled in the third quarter.
Hey, freshman year, that's 64 attempts, 0 picks. That's not bad for a freshman.
So played 3 games.
Yeah, but that's like what 2.5 games for the guy probably.
Yeah.
64 straight attempts, no picks.
He's due. You can look
How
at
many
I,
did you watch the tape? How many were dink and dunk
I did.
screens
I can't.
or
I can't
tunnel
say
screens out to the wideout?
that I watched too much film, but
That's like saying
the
Chase
number,
Daniel didn't throw however many picks.
it.
yeah.
I'll tell you, I really like this last game.
This SMU at Nevada, 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, and
Out in Reno.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you guys something. I bet this game earlier in the week. Okay.
When it was 22.5.
No. 22? No. I bet it at 27.
Oh,
So you can bet that I like it at where it is now. I'm
What's
actually
what was the line at now? What did we say?
25.5 is
25
the
and a half.
line. 25.5 in SMU, and over under is 56.5.
So, I like this SMU team this year. ESPN bets got it at 25.
Did it drop? Okay. When I did this last night. So last night it was
Yeah.
25.5.
So it's
but
at 25.
There you go.
So let me tell you, I really like this SMU team, and I really, really like their move to the ACC. I see them probably having about 8 or 9 wins this year. That's a good first year. Now next year they're going to be really good. They did a great job on the portal. They got one of the best portal players out of the country from Arkansas, offensive tackle. I really, really like their defensive line they have. And obviously the most important part of their team is returning quarterback Preston Stone, who had a great year last year before he got hurt, playing a meaningless snap. So yeah, I think they returned 8 players on offense, 7 on defense. So they're going to be an experienced team. Am I nervous laying, 3.5 touchdowns on the road in your first game? Yeah. But I really like this team this year, and that's primarily why I think they're a lot better than Nevada. I'm a little nervous about the rust in week 0/week 1, but I am on SMU in this game, and I like them a lot.
You sound like a Pony Express booster member with all those stats. What do you know
Hey,
about this quarterback Kevin Jennings potentially splitting time with Preston Stone? Is this true, false?
No,
And
no,
what are you hearing?
Preston Stone's their starter here. He had a great year last year, so I really like Preston Stone.
So no truth to Kevin Jennings splitting time or taking some extra snaps?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did you guys
I
see
mean,
the
are you
Nevada?
Tyler?
he's
Are you touching the over?
probably not. I just don't. I really like SMU's defense. I think they. I do. The only issue is I do think they had a big injury this week. I saw it somewhere. I think one of their defensive backs got hurt. Um,
You really should do some research.
I just did. I just gave you research.
Talking about if the guy got hurt or not. and who it was.
Now I got to go look it up.
While you're doing
Yeah.
that, I saw something funny. The Nevada coach had a press conference the other day, and the classic line when you know you're going to get smoked is saying, "Yeah, I don't care about what's on the scoreboard. I just care about how this team plays and how we're going to play for pride and we're going to represent Nevada." You just know that's a loser mentality. You know they're just going to get smoked. Uh, with
Yeah,
that alone, when you're already going to the game, not caring about what the total is, and you're just playing about for the result, uh, I'm taking the Pony Express as well. Give me the points. 25.5, you said? Or
25.
25?
Down to 25, which means it's trending downward. It's moving.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all right.
It's gonna scare
like I
Tyler here
said,
a
if
little
I
bit.
like it at 27, I really like it at 25. So,
So this is a game where I think there could be. This is one of those games where you look, and you didn't maybe watch, and you look because maybe you don't have CBS Sports Network, whatever, and you look and its point total is like 85 points.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be high scoring. So give me the over. And because of that, somehow maybe a couple touchdowns late in the fourth, Nevada's going to backdoor cover this 25. They'll lose by like 22 and a half or 22 or something.
I hate that. I hope
But
that.
that's the thing with the early games, right? In the season and the big total points, like you got to then make sure your third strings and your second strings keep them out of the end zone. And
Yeah,
I don't know if that
I'll take. I still think I would take SMU's second string over Nevada starters. SMU's defensive line is very, very good. Very experienced. They spend a lot of NIL money there. Um, so I really like this defense here. I think they're gonna. I think Nevada's gonna have a tough time scoring. Now, do I think SMU can score at least 4 touchdowns? Yeah, I do. And I don't know where you're getting your stuff about Preston Stone splitting time here, Adam. But
he just
Take a
Google
look
one
at
thing real quick.
no, I'm just saying I've seen it on the Pony Express Twitter. There's a lot of chatter about it. You got to
He's on
dig in there deep.
Pony board message board or the Pony message board.
yeah,
Take a look. Take a look. There's some talks
Tiger board
about them
2.0.
of him getting some snaps.
yeah. When it's a blowout, maybe. I mean, Preston
Yeah,
Stone last year.
but I mean,
Preston
could
was
it also just be a package thing?
no.
You want to take a personal side bet that this Preston QB gets 10 snaps before
Yeah, I'll take
halftime?
before halftime.
For
Yeah,
halftime. Ooh, Jesus, I
10
don't know.
snaps before halftime.
I mean, I
Before
could see.
halftime, before it turns into a blowout. If you're saying it's going to be a blowout,
The only thing I can see is so Preston Stone got hurt last year in a game where it was a blowout and they kept him in the game too long. So if it does get a little bit, that is one thing that does worry me here. Is if it does get out of hand early, I think they're going to be quick to take him out of the game. That's how. I mean, last year he threw for 3,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions as a I think he's a redshirt junior this year. So yeah, I like him. I like the
I
Pony.
miss I misspoke. I meant if Jennings gets 10 snaps
Yeah, you man,
before
if
half.
Stone gives up 10
Yeah,
snaps
yeah,
Gives
I know.
beforehand.
I know.
correct.
I knew.
Opposite.
I
Not
know.
knowing much about this Jennings guy from the research I've done, there's uh there's some talk about splitting snaps. So, we'll find out.
More to come there.
Yeah, we'll discuss that going into week one. We'll talk about how maybe wrong Adam was.
Yeah, we'll circle back on that, Adam.
That we'll put a pin in that one, and maybe run that as a promo for a hot
Someone
take down the line.
cut that off. Clip that.
When Stone somehow wins a Heisman, we'll
Yep. Hey. Oh, I don't want to foreshadow, but I do have a little Heisman bet that I made
that I was going. That's why
for
I
later
led
in the
into it.
show.
That's no, we'll do
Hey,
Heisman
save
right
it.
now.
Save it.
We'll do Heisman right now, and then we'll go to season
Oh.
predictions.
Okay. Maybe it's a little bit squarish. I don't know. Everyone was talking this offseason Oh, Ohio State. They got
Don't go
Will
Will
Howard.
Howard. Don't
They
go
got
Will.
Will Howard. They got Will Howard. What? That's great. That's great. I can't believe that's such a huge upgrade to where they were at. Will Howard transferred.
Stinks.
Will Howard transferred because he wasn't even going to be the starter at Kansas State this year.
Correct.
That good old Tigers defense got him a couple times last year too. Before
Avery
Mevis had to
Johnson.
save him.
Avery Johnson is that is my Heisman play this year. If you look at their schedule, okay, they're playing the Big 12, so they're one of the Power Fours, right? They're one of the favorites to win that conference. Okay, so there you go. You have that. You get them in the playoff. You get a Power Four team in the playoff. You're the best player on the team. You're going to have a look, right? Their schedule. They're playing. I mean, they've got Tulane on the road, right? Tulane is down this year. They lost Willie Fritz to Houston. Big churn in the roster to the portal. BYU is on the road. They're not very good. Oklahoma State at home. That's probably one of their toughest games at home. Kansas at home. So yeah, I mean, this schedule is very, very easy for them. I would say probably their toughest game might be their last game, one of their last games of the year on the road in Ames, Iowa against Iowa State. If they're able to navigate the schedule and sneak into the playoffs, look for Avery Johnson to get some Heisman looks there. And at the price that I got him at,
I'm
I don't mind it.
I'm staring at plus
Plus 22.
2,400.
Yeah.
Oh,
24 is what I'm
24.
looking at.
Where are you on our book?
Yep. I'm looking at plus 2,400
Yes.
right in front of Shador Sanders and Luther Burden.
See, our book's a little different than ESPN has him at 2,200.
So 22-1 and 24-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Adam,
that's good odds. That's good odds there.
I got
And he's a dual threat, too.
For me, I'm looking at 25-1, and I don't want to be a homer, but I really like the pick.
Don't do it.
Michigan quarterback Alex Orji.
Huh?
I think he knows how to play in the winning offense.
They
you win
Dual
don't
a
threat,
throw the
like
Heisman?
you
ball.
said.
Can
Dual
you win
threat.
a Heisman if you only win eight games in the year?
We'll get to that later, but he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. He's going to get the ball a lot. He's an electric player. He looks good on Sports Center. There's a lot to talk about. He's probably the most athletic, by far the most athletic quarterback, but maybe even the most athletic football player. Alex Orji at 25-1. Homer pick, but I'm going with it.
Okay.
And why didn't you just take Edwards? He's already got a name.
Who knows?
All right, I got two guys I'm stuck between.
Running backs don't win the Heisman anymore is the only issue.
I know, and that's why. But the team that I think foreshadowing this guy has a big year. I should say, as long as his legal stuff doesn't hold him off the field, Ollie Gordon could have another giant year. And if Oklahoma State can win the Big 12, he might very well be sitting in New York. If I'm putting
Did
money down on a guy right
Did
now
you
for
see? You have to do that because did you hear what Mike Gundy said his punishment was for getting a DWI?
oh, I didn't what he
He
said.
said there's no better punishment than running the ball 40 times a game.
There you go. But the guy that I think, call me not Homer wise, but call me dumb for going back to the well because they've been bad for a couple of years. I think this year they get it turned around. I think Dabo figures it out.
Don't do it.
Give me Kate Klebnik at
I
plus
fell for that.
4,000.
I fell for that shit last year.
4,000. Damn.
I mean, I just think Clemson's got a relatively soft schedule. They're in the ACC. They get to the playoff if they're 11-1, getting to the playoff, and he's got normal Clemson quarterback numbers. Yeah, he's probably well in those talks.
Hmm.
And I like the value of plus 4,000 because Carson Beck doesn't do anything. Jackson Dart, no. Cam Ward, the guy's ancient. Why is he still in the league? Riley Leonard, probably not going to do much at Notre Dame, at least to stay in the discussion. Quinn Ewers, I
Don't tell
mean,
Mike Helfont that.
well, I mean, they can still win 9 games, but at Notre Dame, if you win 9 games, you're probably still not in the Heisman talk.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
they,
got to
He
ask you,
Mike Helfont did say he will be tuning in to episode 1. So,
well, you mean our backup if anybody has to bail?
yep.
I got to ask you as the Mizzou guy, what realistically, what do you think Luther Burden has to do? What does he have? What numbers does he have to put up to be a
I mean,
legit
he's
candidate?
he's got to be the number one wide receiver in the country. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't like. I mean, he had better numbers last year than Marvin Harrison Jr., but Marvin Harrison Jr. had the name, right? But he's
right.
got to have
Yeah, Marvin Harrison wasn't even the best wide receiver in the country. I mean, the best wide receiver
no.
in the country got drafted by the New York Football Giants.
I don't know, but numbers wise, it might have been the guy that went to the Bears at 9 and Rome Odunze, but yeah.
No.
My
Okay.
point being is Harrison shouldn't have been in New York like he was.
No, I agree. I just think it's
So
so hard now. It's just a quarterback sport now that
exactly, that's the thing. So like
I
for
don't I just don't
Luther,
know if it's worth even putting money on anyone other than a quarterback.
He's probably got to have 25 all-purpose touchdowns, something around there, with a couple handoffs, catches, punt returns. Like somewhere
Okay.
around that number,
Yes.
20 to 25, just to get the name like out there enough. Like, yeah, he's out there, but like not high. Like he's lower than Brady Cook on ESPN, Bet
Right.
ESPN's Heisman watch. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Where does
so
Travis Hunter rank on that list?
he's actually somehow above Luther Burden, plus 5,000.
Hmm.
Luther Burden is plus 6,000 with Ollie Gordon and KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I don't want to spoil, but I'm not buying the Mizzou hype this year.
Oh, here we go. The national take.
No, they just lost so much on defense. I know they cleaned up in the portal a good amount. Lost your defensive coordinator. Um, I don't know. That's a lot of turnover on the back end. I mean, you probably had the best defensive back class in the entire one of the best defensive back rosters in the entire country last year. Lost both of those guys. Um,
No, we only lost 2 guys. And you
Abrams,
brought in a guy that started 12 games last year for Clemson.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
My fear more is Mizzou gets back to the old Mizzou where they can't stop the run, losing a couple of the defensive tackles that they lost and losing Darius Robinson and those guys and a couple of the linebackers.
Yeah. Well, let's get in. Let's transition that to our win total.
Season totals. All right.
Okay, let's do that. Trout, give your. Okay, I know you said you had about 40 of them. For
40's a little high.
For the sake of time, maybe give your 3 favorites, and I'll give my 3 favorites, and then Adam gives his 3 favorites.
Yeah. So, ones that I love. I love Texas over 10.5. Every big game they have is in Texas, is in Austin. And then the other 2 that I love on the opposite side, Notre Dame under 10.5. Like I said, I think they win 9. And then as much as it pains me to say this because I wanted them to make the playoffs last year, but somehow James Franklin can never win more than 9 games. So give me Penn State minus or under 9.5 also.
Okay.
Let me guess, you got the opposite on that Texas one.
Yeah, I'm not high on Texas this year. I think they're gonna be good, but I think people are overlooking the 2 a couple losses that they had, both on the defensive line, and everyone knows to win in the SEC at a high level, that's probably one of the most important positions. You lose Bo Davis, he goes back home to where he always wanted to be, on the Bayou at LSU, best defensive line coach in the country. Yeah, and if you look at their big game, I forget who it was. One of the sports books put out a bunch of big game numbers. Uh, they are under touchdown favorites against A&M and Oklahoma in a foreshadow spot. So, I mean, you're going to have to win a bunch of close games. That's part of the reason why I have under on LSU is because they have so many games that are projected to be close that you can't win all those, right? Um,
Yeah, I have that under also. They have a gauntlet where they go. I mean, now granted, Arkansas smashed in there, but it's at Arkansas. But they go Ole Miss at Arkansas, at Texas A&M, Alabama.
yeah, the good thing is their toughest games are at home. But I mean, LSU season comes down to week one in Las Vegas. I'll be in the
Yeah,
crowd. I'll be in the crowd
sorry,
there at the game.
sorry about that one.
Uh,
I think they.
yeah, I'm nervous for that now. We'll be Adam and I will be in the crowd there.
Boots on
So
the ground. Boots
yeah,
on the ground.
boots on the ground.
Fingers in chests of Brian Kelly if this goes south.
Yeah, it will not be pretty if they lose. This will be if they lose. This will be their fifth year in a row losing the season opener. So at some
Well,
point,
and that's a mastermind of Brian Kelly. That's what he does.
yeah. Okay, but let me talk to you about a couple of totals here that I have that I really like. One of them we already bet USF over 7.5. The only two definitive losses that I see on their schedule are Alabama and I mean I guess you could put Miami there. Uh, Miami's season also comes down to the first week of the season against Florida. If they lose, who knows what the hell happens there? I really like Golsh, the head coach there. They're returning 18 starters and their number 77 schedule difficulty. So over 7.5 there. Another one that I like is Temple under 2.5. Goodness gracious, they are fucking awful. Um, they only returned 10 starters, and they've had so much roster turnover. They've had to add 42 players to their roster this year. New players to the roster, over half the team almost. Um, Temple under 2.5. Last one, I'm high on Notre Dame this year. I took the over for them once again. I'm a little nervous for Week 1 against A&M. I think they actually might end up losing that game, but I can't find many other losses on their schedule there. And I think I'm a big fan of Riley Leonard. I'm a really, really big fan of their defense. I think they're probably one of the top 5 defenses in the entire country. If they beat A&M week 1 there, don't be surprised if they're sitting at 12-0. And unfortunately, they can't have one of the top 4 seeds. I don't believe so. They'll be the number 5 seed.
No,
Uh,
the
so
top 4 seeds are reserved for conference champions, I do believe, right?
yeah. So I'll just okay. So I took those 3, and then I did take LSU under 9. Maybe more of an emotional hedge on my spot, but I see him more of like a 9-3 team this year. So worst case scenario is they lose when they shouldn't, and they're 8-4, and I win that. Last
I
one that
forgot. Oh, go
last one
ahead.
that I won't go over too much is I took Illinois under 5.5. Much more difficult. Much more difficult schedule this year in the Big Ten. And goodness gracious, I just don't know if Brett Bielema has it in him. I mean,
No,
Lovie Smith actually did a great job of recruiting players there. They had a lot of talent on that roster. They lost some guys to the NFL, and I don't know if he's done a very good job of replenishing that roster at all. So I'll take Illinois under 5.5.
yeah, Illinois. I like that. The other one, there's 2 other ones that real quick. The fighting Barry Odoms of UNLV, I like the over because he's getting a lot of buzz to replace somebody, and somebody's going to fall for it when he wins 8 games, and they're going to hire him. Maybe somebody like Arkansas, and then
What are you talking
Kansas.
about? Arkansas's already got their head coach there.
Yeah,
He
bring
rides
back
electric
Pacino.
motorcycles. Bobby
Yeah,
Pacino. There's a reason why they brought him back. Come on.
and then Kansas doesn't know how to play with pressure, so they're going to probably go 7-5, 6-6. They're not going to get to 8.5.
Oh no.
All right, Adam. Tell us why Michigan's going to win 13 games and you have the
No,
over,
I I,
and they only play
I am
12.
going to stick in the Big Ten because I'm not going to act like I've done a ton of research on team totals, but I did like your guys' Illinois, so I think I'll probably jump on the under there. I'm also very curious to hear, Trout, you mentioned Penn State. How long does, if they underperform again, I guess in the eyes of Penn State fans, Is Franklin gone after this year? He can't stay much longer, correct?
I mean, but here's the thing: how long were they relatively irrelevant before James Franklin
Yeah,
came?
I agree.
Like they went through a patch of 6-6, 7-5. You know, at least Franklin gets 9 wins sometimes. He just can't win the one or two big ones, but at least you're in it every single. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like you have a chance every single
I
year.
just feel like if you
The
Like what
ba-
did Bill O'Brien do?
the bad thing about Penn State is they're like in QB purgatory. I am
Yeah,
not a big fan of Drew Aller at all.
I was last year, and then I watched him play, and I'm like, oh yeah, never. Like I thought Penn State. I bet Penn State to make the playoffs last year and to win the Big Ten. I was that high on him, and like watching him in camp, and then you watch him in game, and you're like, he looks like Justin Fields out there with no actual like concept of game management or like how to read a defense.
Yeah, I Adam, I was texting you guys earlier. A sneaky good week one game, which I hope we talk about next week. Penn State at West
Okay,
Virginia.
or West
That's
yeah,
gonna be
Virginia,
a,
yeah,
that's gonna be
big.
very very
It's
good.
a big low key rival. Yeah, not a
rivalry.
lot of people know
Yeah,
about it, but they get hyped down there.
yeah.
That's true.
So that line has moved. I think like 3 or 4 points since it opened. So that's one I hope we talk about because I wish it had moved a lot because I would like West Virginia. I like Neil Brown there. I think they're gonna have a tough year this year, but long term I like them a lot. But sorry to hijack your Penn State
No,
take.
that's great. I the other team I'm looking at, and I lost the line, so somebody might have to get me a total, but I want to hammer the under. Is going to be Iowa. I watched a video on Cade McNamara.
Eight and a half,
I mean,
8.5, 8.5.
that's an under. I watched a video today with Cade McNamara and their spring game. I mean, or not spring game, maybe a fall scrimmage. I don't know what it was,
Scrimmage,
but
yeah.
this was
Yeah,
he's awful. He's horrible. They were saying they couldn't tell if he was overthrowing or trying to throw the ball away. It's that bad. So I want to be all over the total in Iowa. I'm looking at their schedule now, and I'm not seeing a ton of wins. Not 9 wins, that's for sure.
All right, I like that. Okay, Trout. Uh,
yeah,
last thing here before we jump off. Uh, you took Kansas under. Okay, I
yeah.
took a flyer on them winning the Big 12.
Oh, you are dumb. You are falling into the landslide pole. Anti-Mizzou takes. Come on,
So
buddy.
clip this off, okay? Um, clip this off for later.
You're gonna
Kansas to
be.
win. Kansas to win the Big 12.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. We can clip it.
let me log into the account here. I think the Big 12 is going to be the most fun conference in college football this year. There are so
Well, it
many.
always is. There's no defense, so points are great.
There are so many teams that could end up winning that. I know you
So
got the
what happens to your heart when Kansas opens the season 0-3?
they're going to lose Lindenwood. Yeah,
They're going to pay Lindenwood $1.5 million to come in there and whoop on that ass, and then they're going to lose at Illinois, and then the fighting Barry Odoms are going to get them.
my biggest worry here is the quarterback is elite, but he cannot stay on the field, and that's going to be their biggest downfall. And they don't have Jason Beam back there to protect him in case he does get hurt. So that's my biggest worry. But the schedule's pretty. They can navigate
It's
that
very
schedule.
light, very
Uh,
light.
so their toughest games on the road, obviously at Kansas State, big rivalry game. But other than
Well,
that,
at BYU also.
yeah, BYU.
I'm not saying like BYU is a great team, but more the atmosphere in Provo.
So there you go. That's all I got for you today.
One that I think I kind of really like is the over of Nebraska 7.5.
Okay, Nebraska's back, huh?
No, not back, but I think Matt Rule can get them to 8 wins.
Okay. I just realized how dark it is on my screen. I'm gonna have to.
Show's almost over,
You'll
guys. Show's
figure it out.
almost over. How good does it feel
You'll figure it out.
to
You just
talk college football? Football's back.
I know, right? Well, we got this. Not like we talked about it. The Cardinals aren't doing much, but then like I think I always have this feeling. I don't know what is a better time of year. Is it like early April when you got NHL playoffs
No.
starting up, winding down, the Masters, baseball? Or is it right now when you got playoff baseball getting ready to kick off, the NHL's getting ready to kick off, NFL, college football, you know?
I don't know.
I think it's this.
Right now is the best week of the year, in my opinion.
No, 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 no.
No, we got to get
The
there. We
best
got
week
to
of the year
get
is
there.
next week. Week 1. Week
Oh yeah,
0
yeah,
sucks.
That's what I mean. Obviously, week 1. I'm getting ahead of myself.
And then the second best
Two
week of
thirds
the
of us,
year.
2/3 of us will be in the stadium swim pool out in Vegas, watching all the games. We'll report back to you with our findings.
Circa,
Hopefully
huh?
we report.
Maybe we can get them on. No free
Yeah, no
ads.
free ads.
Yeah, no free ads.
Hopefully we make it back for week 1,
Week 2.
week 2.
Yeah.
I'm all mixed up.
But yeah, I think I'm all set. I'm all fired up. Make sure you keep these predictions that I made. I'm predicting that I go 1, 2,
They'll all be on a graphic on our
3.
on our Twitter account.
I'll be 4-0 this week in bets. So you losers will be chasing me all year.
We'll see.
We shall see about that. I don't know about that one. Hey, you know what they say, the more you bet, the better you have a chance to win. So when I hammer 1,700 bets in the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'll bet every single game.
But you can follow our account on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter X, at SDPick'em. This is the Sports Divided Pick'em podcast, sponsored by Mama Campese's on the Hill here in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yep, make sure you check us out. Mama's on the Hill, 2132 Edward Street, home of the toasted ravioli. Come get
And the chicken parm. Oh.
Chicken parm, the
You guys are making me hungry.
linguine. Get whatever you want, but it's always great getting together with the boys, and I look forward to seeing you guys every week. So
Yeah,
thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, Trout.
We'll hopefully give you some winners, and hopefully we got some fun to talk about next week.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.